Okay. Hi, my name is Jonathan, and this is Lesson 2's project for the Arduino Rev 4, the Morse Code, dot, 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 dash, 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 dot, dot, dot. Simple wiring. I used the common or the ground bus, one resistor, one LED, a couple of jumpers, and of course the Arduino R4 Wi-Fi board over here. So let's have a look at the code. All right, so full disclosure, I used the Kernighan-Ritchie book, the little white book, back in UCF, University of Central Florida, back, when was that, 83-ish, so I am not a newbie to C. I've made this a little more complex than it needed to be, and I started with it simple and tried to use some functions to make it simpler and so forth. Haven't programmed in a long time, and the only professional programming I did was in the DBase, Foxbase, and FoxPro world, so it wasn't anything at the elegant low level of C, and I've never seen C++ or C++ or anything other than just traditional Kernighan-Ritchie C, and I did it on a VAX 11780. So it was pretty much the real thing. All the other students, because they didn't work for the computer science department chairman like I did, had to do it on an IBM implementation of C, and they had struggles, and I just sat down and it worked perfectly on the Unix box. So fortunate to have had that connection. I wrote the code using a few variables or constants at the front. So I set up a constant for the output pin, the duration in milliseconds of a dot and a dash, and then the amount of space to leave between dots and dashes, and then the amount of space to leave between the letters, so 3 dots being the letter S, then you would do the interletter space, the interletter space to move on to the O, and then at the end I put a much longer space or duration or pause or whatever you want to call it. It's basically the output of the pin 13 being low, so that we can separate words or phrases. All right, so then as we start off for the Arduino, we have the, let's get the cursor out of the way there. We have the setup function, and all we're doing is designating pin 13 here as an output. But I'm using one of those global variables, and you're going to have to refresh me because I programmed some in Pascal and some in C, and they're awfully similar, but some of them do, and one does and one doesn't, if I recall correctly, like global variables or pass global variables along with these variables declared up at the very top seem to fall through, but I've passed some along, and I'm sure you'll get into that further in a further lesson. All right, so then after the setup function, we do the loop function, and the loop is basically going to write 3 dots, wait a little time, or write 3 dashes, wait a little time, and then write 3 more dots, and then wait a longer time before repeating that again. So what I've done is I've written a dot dash function that either takes the dot length of display time and remains high for that, or the dash length of display time. The two of those were constants up above where we initialized that after starting the code, and then the loop ends, and this loop of course repeats until the Arduino is powered off. So then we just have one function more, and that's the function that does either the dot or the dash based on the input. And so essentially it's the same code that we talked about, but it's the input to this function is basically whether it's a dot or a dash by telling it how many milliseconds to keep the LED illuminated, and then what pin we're going to illuminate, and then finally how much space we put between each flash of either a dot or a dash, or a dash and a dot, or a dot and a dot, or a dash and a dash. Whatever the case may be, Morse code has all those different variations, and so we could essentially do any letter by defining a letter up above, and you know, I haven't gone that far, but essentially that's my code, and you know, probably a little more verbose than you're looking for, certainly more verbose than necessary, but maybe a little more usable for expanding on this concept should we ever want to do that. Okay, well, that's what I had to show you for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a nice day. Take care. Bye now.